Convoyers. Now, I know plenty of you are planning on attending the protest in Winnipeg on February 18th. And I think that's great. It's good for people to come together and share ideas. I've been attending protests since the early days of the pandemic here in Toronto. They started as the beach parties hosted by Johnny Bravo, or should I say, Chris Scott. Well, they weren't really protests. They were more like drug-fueled rave parties on the beach. And actually, they even resulted in two men attacking people with chainsaws down there one night. And slowly but surely, those protests made their way to Queen's Park and into the streets of Toronto. And they became dance party protests. Now, I see nothing wrong with people gathering joyously to spread love, but I think there's a time and a place for everything. And if you look around the world at other major protests, you don't see them dancing in the streets happily because they're not happy about what's going on. And I feel like at these protests, they've become giant dance parties. They almost look like raves. And if you're trying to get outsiders to join the movement or to listen to the cause, that's not going to work because they'll look and they'll say, what the fuck is going on there? It looks like a bunch of people dancing and partying, which is fine, but not when you're trying to get a point across and trying to be taken seriously. That's my problem here. So now, if we go to February 18th in Winnipeg, unfortunately, I don't think anything will change. I think you're going to have a lot of people gather for a weekend to dance and party and wave signs around, and the outcome will be the same. Nothing will change. Until people start gathering and actually sourcing ideas together and putting pen to paper to make change, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get a change. And these gatherings are just for people to go and get together and party and swing signs around, and that's it. So I'll leave you with this. If you're one of the people attending February 18th in Winnipeg, I hope you do some thought sharing and come up with some ways we can actually try to make a change here in this country by filing paperwork and using their laws against them. Because there's only two ways to bring about the change that we want. One is by using their laws against them, using the system against them. The other way is a full-blown revolution. And let's face it, folks, Canada is not and will not revolt. They are not ready for a revolution, nor are they prepared or strong enough for a revolution. So, we'll be forced to use the paperwork, or we'll be forced to comply. Now, one thing I want to say before I wrap this video up is I find the choice of location for this rally to be interesting. And sure, some people will say, well, it's the middle of Canada, so it's easier for people to come together. Sure, I get it. But you have to consider, if you want to protest, you have to do it somewhere where it affects businesses and makes things uncomfortable in order to bring about change. Otherwise, nobody gives a shit. And let's face it, if you're Canadian, then you know that nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about Winnipeg, especially not any politicians. So what change will it really bring being in Winnipeg? My guess? A big fat zero. But now, think of it like this. If these convoys are, say, planned, and say roads get blocked, and then all of a sudden there's shortages and shipping issues all of a sudden you get inflation. And who pays the price? We do. We do. Be aware, folks. Be aware. And I hope that if you're going to this rally, that you do take the time to do some thought sharing and not just join in on the dance party. Thank you very much for listening to me rant this morning. Have a great day. Keep rocking with the Baron.